Enneagram 7s, let's have some fun with some Taylor Swift and the Enneagram. Well, I know that you are going to be tempted to get all your squirrely minds caught into my sweatshirt. I just got this shirt in Venice Beach. I was going vintage shopping, going from place to place. My word of the year, every year I come up with a word that I try to hunker down on, get comfortable with in my own system, and my word is fun this year. So I needed to buy this for myself, and I wanted to wear it for you guys because, wow, you guys are a little Looney Tunes, aren't you? And so am I. The number that I get most mistaken for is a 7. Probably because when I'm doing YouTube, I bring a little bit more juice. I have to get the reserves up. But the reason I picked fun this year for me, and I was just meditating, which I know could be tough for you guys, but also a real great solution for some of your problems of distraction. So I was focusing on this word fun because when I am doing a new project, when I'm starting a new thing, I always go into the fantasy of it's going to make me famous or great influence to people and numbers are going to start pouring in. And usually that doesn't happen. You know, it's a steady increase of some people, but my life has been occupied by the intense pressure I've put on myself to do things well, be unique, original, and as an Enneagram 4, it has sometimes not been fun. So when I'm leaning into my 7, I'm actually a much healthier person. So I commend you for bringing the fun, wearing this. Now, I also do a Taylor-tation where I listen to the song that I'm going to bring to this session. I listen to it 50, 60 times. And then on the day of, I listen to it 5 or 6 times to just see what I missed, to meditate into it, to Taylor-tate into it. And I just did that. And the beautiful part of this song for me is that I realize that there's so much of me that escapes the moment because of fear. Our song is Florida. It's a mashup between the light lyric soprano of Taylor Swift, which is more conversational, easier to access, light, and the mezzo soprano of Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine, which is haunting and theatrical and at some level operatic. It's a much more powerful voice. And I love this blend for us when we're talking about the 7s of something that kind of has this hunkering down effect and something lighter. And we don't want you guys to lose your fun or to lose your lightness. The song Florida starts off with, "You can beat the heat if you can beat the charges too. They said I was a cheat. I guess it must be true." Right out of the gates, we have an interesting story. It's exciting. There was a crime committed, and I have to get out of town. And then there's this line a little bit later. "Little did you know, your home's really only a town you're just a guest in." Your home's just a town you're a guest in. Have you felt this way, 7s? You're moving to the next thing. You're moving to the next thing. You have desperate enthusiasm. And you demand of yourself a certain amount of excitement in life. I've often talked to 7s and like the word travel comes up over and over again, or the word project. It's the next thing, it's the next thing. And the action is elsewhere. I've got to find it. It's not here right now. It's somewhere else. And that often, when the 7's in the healthiest place, the solution isn't the next place. Sometimes it is hunkering down in that more kind of powerful voice that is the mezzo soprano. You know, we have this clear and melodic, like really enjoyable voice of Taylor, which is sometimes feels a little like that 7 energy. And then something deep and intense that they can go miles down, not just miles wide. But I love the complementary component, that it's a dynamic interplay between something deep and heavy and light and playful and conversational. That something deep and heavy can highlight the need to not be trapped, to stay in a discomforting thing and not move to flight. I love that Taylor gives us another banger. His song Florida with 3 exclamation points. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but it's another song that captures a place, but actually 2 places. Texas, where the crime seems to be committed, and then Florida, where we flee to, we escape to. And Taylor says that what happens when your life doesn't fit or choices you've made catch up with you, people have these crimes they commit and they want to move to the next place. They want to flee. And she was watching all these TV shows about crimes being committed and realized that so many people move to Florida after they commit a crime. That people have these instincts to skip town and go. And doesn't that resonate with a 7? Like, I'm bored here, or I've done something here that is causing pain, or some pain has been caused to me, and can't I move to the next thing, even if it's just in my head? That, do I want to go through this heartbreak? Or would I rather start over, escape and reinvent? That the personal upheaval is actually moving me towards transformation, and cool, maybe that's great. Location shift, geography shift. We have songs like Last Great American Dynasty that I used for the Enneagram 5s, which does seem to be another, like, I'm going to move to this place and reinvent a little bit of myself, or like find a part of myself. That's cool. Like, we need that. And at its healthiest, this song touches on the desire to find a place where I can heal, where I can find peace, where I can reinvent myself, find solace in this heavy experience. That as the turmoil period picks up, maybe I need just a little bit of a fresh start. But at its unhealthiest, and what we have to be concerned about, to watch out for, is that it explores that theme of escape. That I'll seek refuge elsewhere because I can't deal with what is being presented here. The personal struggles that are being presented in this environment are so unpleasant to me that my inclination is to move. And sometimes the very structure of heaviness, of being stuck in a moment of pain, what we'd call liminal space, being stuck in between, not having clarity, not having an answer, this is uncertain, there's ambiguity here, and now I'm like racked with all of this stuff that I don't know what to do with, is the exact place we need to be and not be distracted from. Because it's where our next personal growth imperatives lie. Just as I say that, all the horns outside start honking. But of course, you 7s, let's end with this. You want to sample everything, and then they want to tell us about it. You want to soak up the world, like it all, include it all, and not exclude anything. Now we have to remember, we have to not exclude the moments in which the most powerful growth can happen. Commit to that. And be open-minded about what can happen there, because 7s are so curious, but can they be curious also about what suffering can offer? My name is Drew. I am a psychotherapist here in New York City. And if you want to do any work with me on the Enneagram, some coaching, get in touch with me, or some heavier work on therapy, get in touch with me, drew@drewnewkirk.com. Please smash that subscribe button and also follow me on my socials so you know what I'm doing in the future. Let's get into Florida, 3 exclamation points, an awesome song that I have just enjoyed myself and brought me into relationship with Taylor because I love Florence and the Machine. So I hope you love it and that we can get a little Looney Tunes in the meantime. This section is called Swiftly Typed, and I try to, as quickly as I can, which usually means 10 to 11 minutes, get into your type and some of the core aspects of it. So let's start with motivation. The motivation is to avoid discomfort, to have possibility, to have joy and opportunity as predominant thoughts in your head. Why? Because there is a fear of being deprived. Simply. So the impulse control issues come because if I'm deprived, I'm stuck, so I have to move on. And I want instant gratification because any kind of stuckness or deprivation makes me want to move, want to escape the present moment towards a fantasy of the future. And we might call it a vision, we might call it a project, we might call it a trip or a dream. And in this case, we've got a trip to Florida to get away. But I want to escape this present moment that feels like a deprivation chamber. So the core desire is to feel satisfied and happy and free. You guys seek a life filled with excitement and variety and fulfillment. Again, this isn't a total wrong thing. But when we resist grief and we are so future-oriented, we can't deal with some of the past, which actually anchors us in the present. So we run from the averse emotions because they're so threatening, and we escape the present moment towards that fantasy, variety, fulfillment somewhere else. And remember, and we need to remember this, and I haven't mentioned it yet, that 5s, 6s, and 7s' primary emotional experience that's rooted under everything is fear. 7s underdo fear in a sense. 6s overdo fear. That I will outrun my fear. So we have to remember that. We get into this core fear. The core fear, right, is that being trapped and deprived or bored is just too fear-provoking. But I might not even know that it's a fear because I have repressed my fear. But if I really acknowledge what's going on in my life, I'm avoiding situations that make me feel stuck or restricted. I want to give you some strengths though, because this isn't all bad news. What do you guys excel at? I mean, you are the enthusiasts. You're exciting. You're enthusiastic. We need that. We need those people who turn us on to new things. The 7s in my life are often bringing me new ideas, new adventures, new experiences, new tech, new travel. They're optimistic and fun-loving, and I need them around because I'm a 4 and I can get heavy. They're creative problem solvers. They start things that other people don't. Sometimes they don't finish, but when they do take it to that level of really getting it into a flywheel, they could pass it on to somebody else or learn the skills of management. But often they want to move to the next things because they've solved the problem. Now they're bored and they want to get out to the next possibility. It's not a bad thing. They're bringing great energy and excitement. Now, the challenges are all the things we've discussed, sitting still, being in pain, escaping, overcommitting, jumping to the next thing. Both 5s and 7s, because I'm going to link you guys here, can avoid the heart significantly. When you guys are healthy, 7s, you have a bit of 5 in you. And the 5 on that high side of security is centered, goes deep, stays with a thing. But remember that both characters are in the head quadrant, triad. 5, 6s, and 7s are in the head. And so there is a propensity to stay in the head and not move down here to the heart. So that's a responsibility and a challenge for you guys that you have to be aware of. Cool? One more thing with challenges is to think about FOMO for a second. Don't tell me you don't have it, because I know you do. That if the solution and fulfillment is somewhere else, and I have a plan, I have a full calendar, I'm constantly adding things to the mix because I want to take in all of life. Remember that gluttony is the sin or the vice. And gluttony is about taking in as much as possible. More. I had enough, but no, I need a little bit more. That part of the groundedness that has to happen is going to be grueling, painful, and boring. And so tapping into the boring a little bit will be a goal of yours. It sounds counterintuitive, but it could be helpful because constantly you want this, bang, boom, wham. What about peace, chill, quiet, silence, silence? Let the silence sit. Oh, what a pain in the ass silence is. Okay, relationship style, playful, spontaneous, excited in relationships, might struggle with emotional intimacy. The people who are more the intimate characters who want real talk and deep talk are going to feel like they're constantly kind of searching out the 7 to get that moment with them where they can get rooted with them. So the difficult moments where are prime for like a 4 like me to go, oh, this is a moment we can really connect. They have to be hard enough for a 7 to actually sit in and need somebody and want somebody to engage with in more meaningful conversation. Now, a lot of people wonder if they're a 3 or a 7. Some of the ways that you'll notice this is that 7s are way more comfortable with risk. The 3 is going to present excellence and getting it right, where the 7 can just like shoot from the hip. This 3 is going to avoid failure and often be maybe more the CEO who can organize and structure and root a thing, where the 7 might be an entrepreneur. And always remember that the 7 is avoiding pain while the 3 is avoiding failure. Also, the 7 is prone to reframe things. So if something goes wrong, they'll reframe it and make it look a little bit better. But the 3 is going to spin it to bring back the attention to their ability to be grounded, rooted, and an opportunity of personal growth and admiration if something goes wrong, where the 7 is reframing it as positive because they don't want to see the pain in the loss or the pain in the failure or the mistake. How can I turn this into the win? The 3 says, and the 7 is like, how can I turn this into the thing that doesn't feel so bad? That makes me feel uncomfortable and in pain. So those are just things that we need to remember. Growth path, to sit into discomfort, to process it. Find a mentor or someone who is rooted in this way. A 7 might find a 4 and say, hey, I have a lot of friends that are 7s that use me as a person who helps them stay in the hard thing. To focus and appreciate the moment of struggle as a great opportunity of growing maturity and self-awareness. That it might feel totally counterintuitive to how they do things, but it might be a healthy experience of moderation, of restraint, and of sobriety. If you are a glutton, and I don't mean this in just the substances sense, but silence is about sobriety. Solitude is about sobriety. Finding these moments in which you could balance out life and be clear about the thing that you're moving towards and not overly distracted. Following through on the hard thing. Now, in stress, how do you respond? Under stress, 7s retreat. That's why I'm using this song. Escapism is part of the thing that we are trying to work through. Why a bright side diminishes pain, and avoiding your shadow, your darker stuff by moving to the next thing. You can overindulge and over-index activity and not face the difficult emotions. And that's what you're likely to do in stress. Just likely to do it. You might also just have some kind of reflective tradition for yourself or habit of dealing with gratitude for the present moment and the past to build your depth and to build connections with others. When we're constantly chasing you as the person in relationship with the 7, because you're moving all over the place, our journey towards intimacy with you becomes strained. And sometimes we can give up on thinking that a relationship with a 7 could be deeper and more powerful. Yes, fun. Yes, exciting. But often not promising the freedom of intimacy. And so sobriety and finding joy in the little things, finding joy in the stationary experiences is a really positive experience for a 7 if they enter it with the hope that they will become a more broadened out, deeper person. One of the reasons that I am doing this series is because I think it is a powerful way for cross-generational growth. Because Taylor has such a wide generational reach, just like the first time I went to a Bruce Springsteen concert, I saw 3 to 4 generations of a family in front of me. I think Taylor has that same ability. So if you are a parent trying to understand a kid that's constantly moving like this, that seems regularly anxious and moving to the next thing, this might help you understand them a bit. And if you're a child of a parent who has that same thing, you might help them understand through this, that their constant preoccupation with the future and what seems chaotic, and that they're not supporting themselves through an exercise of depth and stationary movement because their fear is so ramped up, that you might help them understand themselves through even music. Which is why we're going to move to the next section, which I hope satisfies our curiosity about this song a little bit more. This part is called Tailor-Made. Why is this song so tailor-made for the Enneagram 7s? I talked about escapism, so I love this lyric there's just a powerful moment in this song that I think could be missed. It's where we put 2 states together. So there's this lyric that I need to get away from the shitstorm down in Texas. Boom, the next lyric is Florida. Okay, so where I'm coming from and what was hard, what I don't want to be in because it was too painful, and where I am going. And it's a quick transition. That line ends, shitstorm down in Texas, and then boom, Florida. So we have this juxtaposition, this moment in which we don't want to stay with the feeling. And 7s need to stay with the feeling a little bit more. They have a world-class ability to move on. And so often gaining peace is to deal with the pain through grief. And when I talk about grief, I talk about it not as an emotion, but an experience of emotional moments. Sadness, anger, bargaining, which is the if-then statements. If I could just change things. The denial, which you guys are pretty good at, maybe excellent at, world-class at also. That I can deny what I'm going through right now and run from it so I don't have to deal. Look to the future. Get away. Like, looking to the future is the antithesis of grief. Grief is playing with the past a little bit, okay? Staying in the present with the emotions so that the future has a brightness to it. Not jumping to the future without dealing with that stuff. So I think grief is at the core of this song and at the core of the work that a 7 needs to do. You guys are bent on joy. Cool. But joy comes through grief. We need it. Love is made more profound and deep through getting over some of the past. Okay, this song is from the Tortured Poets album. And it blends a little like gothic rock and indie rock. We have Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine, who's just really powerful, as we talked about. Jack Antonoff helped co-write this song along with Florence Welch. We even have Emma Stone, the actress, credited on this song. No one knows what she credited. It's said that she created or is credited with Oddities, Some people think she was just in the room when they were creating this song and that was it, and she's one of Taylor's best friends, but we have Florida as this metaphor for escapism and refuge. Destin, Florida, in fact, where we run away to a beach town. And the complexities and challenges of our past, or what we've just gone through, we move enthusiastically to this next place to escape the pain. Longing for adventure, change, reinvention, avoiding emotional discomfort. So sevens cope with the fear that they have internally of getting lost in pain by escape. That's how you guys cope with stress. Especially imagination and a fanciful look at how the world could be, especially somewhere else. Reality's hard for all of us, right? So if I want to have a possibility up here of being somewhere else to not have to deal with this, I can do that. I can jump into another thing. So sticking out tough conversations, facing the crime or the punishment. Because in this, committing the crime, which the character essentially has done, is not, in our sense, a real crime. It's more of like facing the music, facing the tough conversations, facing not being understood or the world seeing you in the wrong way, and now I want to get out. So we have to slow down and feel the feels, be with our true self for a while, which wants us to grieve, wants us to not avoid psychological pain, but confront it. And we wonder, do we have what it takes? Do we have what it takes to deal with this pain? Because we're really good at repressing it, hiding it, burying the pain, vanishing it somewhere away. But can the narrative change that we get better and better and better at it? Is that a possibility? Now, what I think is crucial for the sevens to remember is that at some point you probably did not feel very supported, often in your childhood. Now, if the seven feels like they have to take care of themselves because that support wasn't there, the desire for freedom is also going to be there in this case because often they were not attended to. So sometimes freedom was part of the environment they were in. Maybe too much freedom, right? There was too much ability to do what they wanted to do and not enough attentiveness by the parent. And so I think Florida feels a little like that. Like the idea of Florida managing me, telling me to go down to the beach, go surf, go for a run, kite surf, do some fun things. Florida almost plays the parent in this characterization, in this metaphor that Taylor brings us. That I long for a place that has a freedom to it, that has a beach, that has a place I could try a bunch of stuff. And there is, though, a dynamic progression in this song. It's subdued tone at first, but it's building towards a powerful place, powerful chorus, reflecting on our own emotional journey, I think. That the song is pushing you to look at yourself. That while there's escapism built in, the truth at the end is, I've got to face this. So again, I go back to that lyric, your home's really only a town you're just a guest in. So you pack your life away just to wait out the shitstorm in Texas, back in Texas. The freedom you feel under no one's watch when I can move on from that place where the problem is. But then I have to deal with boundaries because they're going to follow me. I'm still going to need boundaries over my life. Optionality is cool and restlessness is, a part of my game. But ultimately, I can't keep on exploding into the next thing, seeking excitement. The lyrics that I think are some of the most powerful in this song are, I'm haunted, but I'm feeling just fine. I've got some regrets, but I'll bury them in Florida. I need to forget, so take me to Florida. This is denial. This is burying your head in the sand, feeling like I don't have the internal support system to deal with this problem. So I'll deal with the loneliness of that feeling by getting away. I'll play the short game. By looking far into the future, I'm playing the short game. But we know, and you know, sevens, that the long game is that the drug won't help, the moving won't help, that the tendency to downplay pain, buried it in the sand, get on the plane, move, is an excuse often. It does not mean that you can't enjoy those things, but to distract through pleasure so regularly that it's not balanced with the necessary sufferings that we have to go through. And when I say necessary sufferings, I mean like there's trouble that we need to get into, that we need to deal with, so that our limitations are actually smaller. That's the trick, is that we actually expand our horizons when we deal with the pain. That there's more actual possibility of awe and wonder when we have a mile deep and a mile wide of wisdom, of understanding, of self-awareness. That when we are only a few inches deep and a mile wide, spreading ourselves out all over the place, that is actually leading us towards more emptiness, not towards more depth and a rooted system that just goes far and deep and down and wide. And why we can find ways to reframe a bad situation. We still need to commit to dealing with it. That a 7 that moves towards their 5, the Enneagram 5, is moving from generalization to specialty, is moving from just something new to being maybe an expert at something, to the temptation to just change and move towards hunkering down, from optionality towards narrowing. And I think this song is such a special piece of art for you that it could actually lead you towards leaning more into your idealism. Because remember, the 7s are in the idealist group of 1s, 4s like me, and 7s. Towards a more rational place, if they hear the song right, that they can change their agenda just a bit to get that need met for depth. Doesn't that sound rewarding and kind of awesome? But yes, scary. So scary because you're going to have to deal with the shit. Storm back in Texas, or fill in the blank, in your relationship, in your job, with your parents, with your broken down car, with your lack of income, whatever it is, that we have to deal with that. There's so many lyrics in this song that I'd love to go into, but I think just hunkering down on those and remembering that this metaphor of Florida is the place we go when we want to get away because things are going bad in the other place. And I've done it many times and I've needed it. It's been appropriate to scramble off to the next place. But often, it's that I need to stay and face the music so that I can get my roots down deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay? Just like the location Florida, it is deep and it is fun. It has some darkness and it has a lot of light. And we love it as a metaphor. This is Endgame, where I send you out. And here I'm not going to overdo it. I mean, I've talked a lot about escapism. But here, from me to you, it has been so cool, 7s, to get the fun I need it as a 4. I need those moments of levity, to be light, to not have to talk about the deep stuff. And it is my mission this year to lean more into my 7, have some fun, use fun as a word that I am just going to focus on. Wear shit like this, because the 4 part of me wants to be noticed, wants to be seen as original and unique, but doesn't want to overly draw attention to myself like this sweatshirt does. But for you, gravitate towards some of your more deep, intimate, oriented friends. Learn from them how to stay in a moment. Be there to suck out the marrow of personal, I don't know, gosh, I don't even have a word for it. I think just like to be excited about yourself. Not to be excited about the next thing. To be excited about what is in you that you aren't aware of yet because you've been moving too much. You've not been focusing your sharp, beautiful light of introspection on. That you can take the time and find the right resources to give this part of your life special attention and find it a thing worth suffering FOMO over. The fear of missing out on what's left in you to discover that you haven't taken the time with. That would be really cool. I'm Drew. If you want to do some work with me, Drew at drewnewkirk.com. Please follow me on my socials and smash that subscribe button. I end with every session, which is going to totally cater to you 7s. It's from the words of Rainer Maria Rilke. Everything is yet to be done. Everything. Have a good one, folks.